Today we are going to see this, constructor. As Mahendra said, there is variables inside the class, methods. Also, we'll have the constructor and static block. Some blocks we can see. Okay. So as of now, we have seen about this, variable and method, that state and behavior, right? State and behavior, which is state is a data members and behavior is a methods. So we also can see this, constructors, which we have not know that there will be a default constructor with a class, but will not see that anytime while executing it, or if you have not declared, you don't know whether it is there or not. Today we understand more on this. So guys, this constructor is most important when you are going to be design your page object model, or if you want to initialize something which is which it has to be come with your class and object creation. This is most important. Let's create a package in the name of constructor. So inside this all constructors, I'm closing all the tabs which is opened by the class names by right clicking on any one of the tab. Closed everything. So here what I'm doing it is creating a class called app application. In this application we can create a multiple classes, right? And I'll create a class person. So in application class, I'll create a main method, main method, and inside the class, what are the things we'll have? We'll have the data types, that is variables and data. So I'll take the string name. Okay. I'll also take int is, right? So have two data types, that is name, string and integer, and the two variables, that is name and age. So name will be characters and some special characters, and age will be number. So that is the reason I created a string and int. And also we'll have this. These are all the these two are we'll call the state, and behavior will be methods. Like I'll create a method public void print is a method print person. So in this, what I'll say, sys out my name plus name and plus and is plus age I'll give it. So here add the string, and I'll give as a string to this my name is, and name variable it is comes from here, and then is, and this is variable comes from here. So what I'll give the some gap space here, and also here after name, and here also I'll give some space and colon to be so very nicely. So if I'll call this now, I want to use this name and age, and if I want to print it, this person details, what I need to do, I need to create an object for this, right? And if I anything outside the class, outside class variable or method, if you want to use it, you need to create an object for the class and then call them. So I'm creating an object for the person, a person p is equal to person1 is equal to person, right? So this is an object. So inside this, you can see, if you'll execute this, what will happen? Nothing is going to be printed. Nothing is going to be printed, and nothing is going to be shown you. So let's see where is the console. You see here, nothing is shown into the console. So I'll say is like, there is another a constructor. It is variables and the method, right? If I'll give this some name as well here, name is equal to StudentBuzz. Student here, I'll keep into this double quotes since age will be you know something, and this, since it is number, you don't need to give any double quotes or single. Okay, so here if you execute as well, if there is some values into this variable, stored some values as also, it is not going to be print, because you initialized or you created a object, you created a object for the person, but you and or you are not calling any variable, or you are not method here. So if you want to see, it's like, if you want to call this any variable or method from the other class object which you have created, p1 dot name will print you your name, that is there into other class. The same way, if you want to know it, like, if you want to know it p1 dot age, you can also name p1 dot age also. You can see it here, you can access it. So the same way, p1 dot, so you can access it. So let's see. I'll keep this. I'll print this into this. Sys up. Keep this p1 dot print person. Do this have to be no print your value. So run as, here you can see my name is StudentBuzz and age is 123. Calling this method. Okay. If you want to print and state p1 dot name, this p1 dot age, you can print directly. You can also access the variables values if you want to, and 123, it is individually also you can access it. This is data members. The methods, however, we learned it as of now. It's like there is a data members as well as methods which can have a class. Also, we'll have this constructor. That is, constructors will have a similar kind of method, and it is also a similar kind of method, but it is the class which you have defined. Constructor are not define it, and there will be a default constructor to initialize your object. For example, I'll say person. It is here. The person is uh, the constructor name will be a person, which is class name. The class also the same name, and the constructor name also same name. Because when you compiled it, and if the JVM or the compiler, if it wants, it has to be understand as a constructor, the class name and the constructor name should be also will not have any return type. Constructor will not have any return type explicitly. If you'll give this void or int or anything, it will not be a constructor. This will not be a constructor. When you have a return type, it will not be a constructor. Explicitly, you cannot give it this. And if you uh, have a class name and a method name the same, and without having this any return type, that will be a constructor. And also cannot be abstract. This constructor cannot be a abstract. Okay, this will be a public. Okay, public, you can keep. So here you can see you have declared this constructor or not to initialize your object wherever you are creating a object for this class. It will have default constructor inside the class. So if you may have a question like, how it works. I'll take away this code. So here you have a person class, and person is created as constructor. And I was saying the constructors will initialize the object. See, this object, how you can create a object by using the new keyword and the class name. This is an object. And if you want to use this inside this person class methods, you need to be stored into this reference variable. Then by using that particular reference variable, you can print or use this. Like here, this where was this person class object? So here, right, in a by using this person, when you have a person and the p1 is equal to new person, this is an object. This portion is a object, and this will be the reference variable. Reference variable, and this type of storing is class type, that is person only. The person only. By using this reference variable or object name, and can call this pair person class data members as well as the methods. So the constructor, when you have a constructor, if you want to use it somewhere into this other class, and how it is going to be work. Let's see. If I'll Java application here, nothing is executed. But this constructor is to initialize your object. Constructor is to initialize your object. Whenever you create a object, it's automatically will initialize with the object. So let's see. Put like so here there is a sysout inside this person class, person constructor, and as I said, like when you create a object for any class, it's automatically initialized, right? Let's run it. See, you don't need to be call this constructor anywhere. We are calling anywhere this constructor without calling or without using that method name or constructor name. It's automatically printing it or initializing. Whenever you initialize your object here, it's by default this constructor is able to execute or calling. It is executing this constructor. For example, let's say when you have a parameterization inside the constructor, it is a different constructors in this. For example, you have this is a default constructor, which non-parameter constructor, and also which is if you don't have declared any constructor here, there will be a default constructor which initializes your object. And when you have a some constructor here without having this parameter, and this will be a non-argument constructor. Non-argument constructor is no arguments here inside this constructor, so it is called non-argument constructor. You also can have a argument constructor, as I was giving you this string name int is the person. Whenever a person will have, the person will have the name and also will have the age, right? And I'll say will have a name and also have a age. Whenever I'm initializing the object for this person class, I'll ask the name and age. Let's see. One is new person, it is there. I'll give this new person here name T and age will be on. It is the person is a class. Person is a class. It is having the parameterized constructor, and it is having the string name and int age. So when I'm using this, when I'm using this object new person, I have also passed some values here, and if I'll execute this, what will happen? Nothing is printed because you have given some values to this person object, but you have not printed it. Let's see inside the person. I'll do sysout n plus A. I'll give some spaces here. N plus A. See, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whatever values you have given inside this parameter, it is calling it. So when I remove this constructor default non-argument, and I'll try to create this one. It's like there is no a constructor which is default constructor or non-argument constructor now. So when I was not having these two constructors, you can able to create a person object without having any parameters, right? In the sense there is a default constructor which doesn't need any parameters, doesn't need anything. Okay, so when you have a parameterized constructor, it will not allow you to be create a object without having a parameter. In the sense, when you have a parameter constructor or non-parameter constructor, the default constructor will not be available in the class. Default constructor will not be available. So if you don't want to pass any parameters inside this person constructor, and then you need to be declared non-argument constructor, then it will allow you to be create a object without having the parameters. So we understand there will be a three kind of constructors. One is default constructor, another one is non-argument constructor, another one is argument constructor. So the constructors are, whenever you are creating or initializing the object, it will call. So you don't need to be call those constructors to use it, and whatever constructor it will have inside the class, and based on the initialization of the class object, it will start and execute it. You don't need to be call it. So let's see. I'm storing into this class type of person with a p1. Okay, so here, and I'll store this also in person p2 is equal. So if I'll say sys and p1 dot name, I'll say p1 dot name is equal to, otherwise I'll call this p1 is equal to. So if I'll say p1 dot name plus p1 dot is, what will print? So ABC and 145, right? This P1 person 1, you are changing the name, and A is here. And also, if you have given any value here, if you have given the name is ABC and the age will be, you are not giving anywhere, that values. Okay, and I want to get the same name and the same age here. So there is a this keyword where it can uses this class variable and the local variable. By using the this keyword, this will represent to this class, this person class, represent to this person class. You also can give this person name is equal to n. You use this is representing to this person, person, this name. You can see this color of this variable, it is a blue color, right? And this is also, here also you can see it is a blue color. So class variable is equal to n. This is local variable. So if you'll say n is equal to name, what will happen? n is not having any value. N is not having any value. It is not global variable. It's not a n is not a global variable. So you can see here, create a field n in type person. Local variable cannot be equals to this global variable, and you need to be created. And global variable I'm giving here, I'm using n. Okay. At the same time, this dot is equal to a. So here, when I'm calling this. So execute this time. This execution 3 and 1 2 3 it is getting. It is getting this 3 and 1 2 3. So how you need to be get this value. These values is like equals to this name, n is equal to n, and this is equal to s, and print these values. When you are calling this default constructor, and if you want to have this any value and equals it you can, if you have any local variables, and you can also do that, and also you can pass this directly the value here. String is sorry string name is this is equal to, see here, you have a local variable which is not inside the parameter, and you are trying to access this global variable and giving this to this particular, assigning this value to this other one, and try to exchange here. This will be the same, and I'll change it NA. It's allowing us. Oh, you guys are very confused here. It is not allowing you. So if I'll get this very clear understanding into this WebDriver, whenever we have WebDriver assigned or declared into this base class and page object class, and if you want to equals that by using this parameter, you can use this. You can declare, and you can use that I'll tell you. Just you need to be understand is there will be a default constructor, a non-argument constructor, an argument constructor, which is parameter constructor. So whenever this object creation, it automatically initialize your constructors. And one point where if you want to copy or calling this constructors, you also can call your constructor by sequentially, or if you want to call this one constructor to other constructor also, you can call it. Person class we have, and the person class, whenever you are initializing any object, you not executing anything. Please keep in a simple way. Person, there is no initialize. So there will be a default constructor which is not calling here, and it is not showing anything. If you don't have any default constructor, you cannot create a object here. How? If I'll say person is, let's see, allowing you, is not allowing you to create a object without having any parameter, here. So you declare any parameter, the default constructor will not be there. Default constructor. What is default constructor? Which you have not declared any constructor into this your class. Maybe a non-argument constructor or argument constructor. By default, it will be there. What is non-argument constructor? Non-argument constructor is, so you don't have any arguments inside this parameters, inside this constructor, or non-parameter. Okay, so you can create and you can write your initialization here with the class, will executes automatically. So here, if you want to pass by default some values, or if you want to use this global variables by default, like string name, you can use this directly like into this parameter. Whenever you are creating any object to this person class, it will ask you to be provided this value, name and age. To store, if this also you can give this here. See, what is the name? Sri is 1 2 3. So let's execute and print this. See here, hello and Sri 1 2 3. It is getting it. So if I'll call this, if I try to access this name and age, how can I access it? Can I access it? Now I'll say person p1 is it. I'll print this p1 dot name, p1 dot age. This is out null and 0. It is not allowed. It is not assigned to this particular variable and name. So if I'll say this dot name equal to n, this dot is equal to, which is you pass this parameter, it's automatically going forward and making sure to be store these values. Let's say I have person 2 p2 is equal to new. The name will be student and provide inside the double quotes. Age will be, so whatever name if you have now into p1 is a name and age. You don't have an option to create default constructor here. Create a default constructor because uh, you don't have a default constructor, and when you create a object non-parameter object here, non-parameter object, it will not allow you. It will not allow you. If I'll say I'll give this constructor of person p is equal to, so I'll try to print this p dot name. It is in default. Okay, we were having the local variables and we were equaling this value which is passed into this parameter where we created object, and we are getting it with the object. It is created new memory when you are giving this new person creating an object. It was having a new memory, and when you say p1 dot name, p2 p1 dot age, it is printing the 3 and 1 2 3, right? The same time, when you have second person p2 and it is student and 3 to 1, if you print this p2 name and p2 age, see here it will be a different value. Student and 3 to 1, this will be a different value, and this is different value. Let's see, we are calling this one sys out and the other one is this, another one is this here. So let's give some space here to be very clear understanding. Here also. Now hello Sri 1 2 3, and from here, and Sri 1 2 3 again it is printing here. This here. This is coming from here, and I'll keep this comment. Put it. Sri 1 2 3. It is printed here, and student 1 2 3. It's printing from here, and other one is D and null. This is printing from here, and which is default, that is non-argument parameter constructor. This is argument constructor. So which is you are passing inside this object, this new memory which you created with using this object, and it is calling from this here. And if you want to have this different values based on the object, you can create a constructor. You can create a constructor and use this your data members inside this by using this name, this, and equaling to this your local variables. It will be deferred to this based on your values. So if you want to equals here also, try to do this person dot equal to p dot name. See here, you are not able to call it. This keyword cannot use this and static context. It is a static method, you are not able to use it. The static context, you cannot able to use it. So what I'll say, if you want to have this data members reuse based on this object, you can have this and get it done. So until unless if we get into this our object based object model, and you'll not understand what is a constructor, what is the use of constructor. Till now you can understand it's like there will be a three kind of constructors. One is default constructor, non-argument constructor, parameterized constructor. And the default constructor, when you don't have any constructor inside this, and it will have a default constructor. When you declare any constructor which is non-argument or parameterized, the default constructor will not be available inside the class. And this non-argument in the sense is you don't have any arguments inside this uh, parameter to this constructor, that is non-argument constructor. And parameterized in the sense when you have a parameters inside this, and it will be a parameter constructor. And if you want to be get these values, whatever this person constructor or parameter constructor object creation, the same values, if you wanted to get into this global variable, and you can use this keyword dot name, whatever global variable is equal to, you can equals it. And when you are using person dot name, a person dot name with a class name, here you can see this name was getting here. This was not getting whenever you have a object parameter concept, and you can use that. Okay. So the other thing is, this is all for the constructor. When you have a the calling constructor and copy constructor and super constructor, that let's see the super constructor. Let's see the super constructor. For example, whenever a child class constructor wants to implement the parent class constructor, or call the constructor of this parent class, parent class. Let's see, there is a person, and I'll say parent. So I hope it is understand. Hope it is understand. Parent person class and parent. So here I have both the classes will have a default constructor, right? Both the classes can have a default constructor when you are extending it. And when you create a object of this, both the constructors is going to be executed, right? Application. When you created an object, both the classes, the parent person and application constructor, both it is executed. And how it works, let's see. For seeing that I'll give a default that is non-argument construct parent. So I'm running it here. When you have this is an object you have created, that application constructor only it is this parent person, whatever you have. When you run this child class, that is parent person is a parent, and this will be a child class, and you are creating object for the child class here. And while executing it, you can see the parent constructor also is executed, and child constructor also. So it's basically kind of constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. Not exactly this constructor overloading. It's basically parent, and this by using the super keyword, it is calling it your constructor. For example, I'll come to the super one next session, but how the super is going to be work with this parent variables and parent methods, parent class methods and parent. For example, I'll say here I have a variable in name here, and also I have here string. Both the variables are same. Variable names are same, the parent and the child class. And if I'll say name here, there will be ambiguity, like the which name you are calling from the parent are. So you can use this a super keyword to be, variable you are calling it. Super dot name, in the sense immediate parent, it will be calling it. And when you say simple name, it will be local variable. First preference will be the local variable when you are using this super keyword, that will be parent variable. That all we'll discuss tomorrow.